Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going deep into one of the most fascinating sports institutions, not just in Egypt, but in Africa. Zamalek Sporting Club.
It really is incredible how a sports club can become such a major part of the culture.
Right. Like you think sports and you think wins and losses, but there's so much more to it.
Oh, absolutely, a reflection of history and politics and so much more.
Exactly. And to uncover all of that, we're diving into Zamalek SC's Arabic Wikipedia entry.
That sounds like a good place to start.
It's amazing how much info is in there, and I always love seeing how these clubs change over time.
Yeah, how they evolve.
And Zamalek is a great example.
Definitely.
They weren't always Zamalek, were they?
No, they weren't. The clubs had a few different names, and each one tells a story.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it all started back in 1911, get this, as Qasr El Nile Club,
Whoa, back in 1911.
founded by a Belgian lawyer named George Merzbach.
I never would have guessed that.
Right. And it gets even more interesting. It was located near British Army barracks.
Wow, so much history there already.
Exactly. And then later it became Cairo International Sports Club.
Makes sense reflecting those different nationalities in the club.
Right. And then with the rise of King Farouk, it changed to Farouk Club.
Wow. So literally named after the monarch.
Exactly. It's like you can track Egyptian history through Zamalek's name changes.
That is such a cool way to think about it.
And then, of course, 1952, the revolution happens.
Everything changes.
Boom! Zamalek Sporting Club. The name we all know.
The name we know today.
It's wild to think how every shift in power in Egypt kind of had an impact on the club's name.
Yeah, like they were on this journey right alongside the entire country.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if that's part of why it's so important to people.
Totally. It's not just a team, it's part of their story.
Right.
And speaking of journeys, Zamalek's about more than just football, right?
Oh, absolutely. They're involved in basketball, handball, volleyball, swimming. The list goes on.
So many different sports.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if those other sports have stories as interesting as the football club.
That's a good question.
Yeah, right.
Maybe a deep dive for another day.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
But for today, let's stick with football.
Okay, sounds good.
And their trophy cabinet is pretty full, isn't it?
Oh, it is seriously impressive. We're talking 14 Egyptian Premier League titles.
Wow.
14. 28 Egypt Cups. 4 Egyptian Super Cups.
That's a lot of trophies.
I know, it's clear they've been a major force in Egypt.
A powerhouse.
For sure. And I was reading that they won the Cairo Zone League 14 times.
The Cairo Zone League.
Yeah, it was like a regional league, super competitive, and Zamalek just dominated.
Wow, so they were really strong even at that regional level.
Oh, yeah, for years. Imagine being a fan back then, seeing your team winning again and
It
again.
must have been an amazing feeling.
Totally. And it really sets the stage for their success later on.
Right? First they conquer the region, then the country.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they set their sights on all of Africa.
And they did pretty well.
They did. 5 CCAF Champions League titles.
That's the biggest club competition in Africa.
Yeesh.
And they've got a CCAF Cup Winners' Cup, too. And hold on to your hats. 5 CCAF Super Cups.
5.
5. Zamalek's got some serious hardware.
They do. I was looking at one win in particular that really stood out to me.
Oh, yeah, which one?
Back in 1994, when they became the first Egyptian team to win the CF Super Cup, and get this, they beat their rivals Al Ahly to do it.
Oh, wow. Talk about a high-stakes match.
I know, right? Can you imagine the intensity?
Yeah, the atmosphere must have been electric.
It's a perfect example of how Zamalek's story isn't just about winning, but about these key moments.
These rivalries.
Exactly. Rivalries and moments that fans remember forever.
For sure.
And speaking of fans, we got to talk about their nickname.
Oh, yeah, the School of Art and Engineering.
It's such a unique nickname. Where'd it come from?
It supposedly came about in the 1950s.
Okay.
When the club needed money to build new stadium stands.
So they needed a fundraiser.
Kind of, but instead of looking for big sponsors or loans, get this, they sold trees.
Wait, they sold trees.
Trees! That's such a great story.
It shows how much the community cared.
Totally. They were invested in the club's growth, even if it meant selling trees.
That's incredible.
And I think that spirit's still alive today.
Right. It's about more than just money.
For sure.
It's about that shared passion.
Yeah, exactly.
And that ties in perfectly with the nickname.
Yeah, how so?
It wasn't just about power on the field.
Okay.
It was about strategy, engineering, finding clever solutions.
I like that.
And then art captures the beauty of their play. That flair.
Yeah, it really does capture their whole identity.
And it shows how creative the fans were.
Absolutely. They weren't just cheering, they were helping build the club.
Literally and figuratively.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
It is.
And speaking of passionate fans and intense rivalries,
Oh boy, here we go.
we can't avoid the elephant in the room.
Al Ali, the Cairo Derby.
Legendary, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's world-renowned, consistently ranks in the top 10 football derbies globally.
Top 10 in the entire world. That says something.
It really does. It's more than just a match.
Oh, yeah. It's a clash of cultures, a battle for the soul of Cairo.
Uh-huh. I love that.
And speaking of bragging rights, Zamalek has a pretty big one over Al Ahly, don't they?
Do they hold the record for the biggest Cairo Derby win?
Let me guess, 6 seal.
You got it. 6-0, not once, but twice.
No way.
Yes, wait. Once in 1942 and then again in 1944.
Imagine being in the stadium for those games.
I know, right? Can you imagine the atmosphere?
It must have been insane, pure electricity.
It makes you want to learn more about those matches.
Right, like what led to those victories? What were the tactics like?
I know, it'd be amazing to go back in time and see them.
Time machine, please.
Uh-huh, right.
But it's important to remember that Zamalek's story isn't all sunshine and trophies.
Yeah, there have been some really tough times, too.
Tragedies that have impacted the club deeply,
Sadly, yes.
like the 1974 Zamalek Stadium disaster and the 2015 Air Defense Stadium disaster.
It's a reminder of how powerful those emotions are around football.
Yeah, and how important fan safety is.
You're right, these events are part of their history, too.
And they remind us that passion needs to be balanced with responsibility.
Absolutely, we should never forget those who are lost.
We should never forget.
And we should learn from those tragedies to make sure they never happen again.
Agreed. Now, shifting gears a bit,
Okay.
what about Zamalek's impact beyond the pitch, in popular culture?
Well, the Wikipedia entry mentions a couple of documentaries.
Oh, cool. What are they called?
Ya Zamalek, Ya Handasa, and The Story Never Ends.
Wow. Those titles are really grabbing my attention.
Right.
Ya Zamalek, Ya Handasa. It's like a rallying cry.
Exactly. It captures the spirit of the club.
And The Story Never Ends suggests a legacy that just keeps going.
Yeah, a story that's still being written.
It's fascinating how a sports club can inspire filmmakers like that.
It shows their impact on Egyptian society.
Totally. It goes way beyond sports.
For sure.
Now, I'm curious, what about you? What stood out to you the most so far?
Honestly, that story about selling trees to build the stadium,
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
it just shows you the power of community dedication.
It does. It makes you wonder if that kind of spirit still exists today.
That's a good question.
Yeah, one worth thinking about.
For sure.
Because as we've seen, Zamalek is so much more than just a football club.
Right.
They're a reflection of Egypt's history, its spirit.
Yeah.
It wins its losses.
Like a microcosm of Egyptian society.
Exactly. And that's why I think their story resonates with so many people,
I think so too.
both in Egypt and around the world,
Absolutely. It's a story that goes beyond the football pitch.
and speaks to something much bigger
For sure.
about passion, community identity, and the spirit of a nation.
Well said.
It's powerful stuff.
It is. It's really fascinating to see how deep Zamalek's influence goes, even beyond just football.
Yeah, we talked about it briefly, but I'd love to hear more about those other teams.
Okay.
I mean, it takes a lot of work to be successful in so many different sports.
It does. It takes dedication, resources, certain culture.
So what's their secret? How do they do it?
Well, I think it's a few things. First, they've got a really strong infrastructure
Yeah.
and a culture that really values athletic excellence across the board.
So it's not just about football. It's about being the best no matter what sport.
Exactly. And they've got dedicated coaches who are experts in their fields.
That makes sense. You need the right people in place.
And, of course, they've got that passionate fan base.
Oh, yeah. Those fans are amazing.
They support all the teams, not just the football club.
That's awesome. Really creates a sense of community.
It does. It's like a big family.
I wonder if the other sports have rivalries as intense as the Cairo Derby.
Oh, I bet they do. Imagine a Zamalek versus Al Ali basketball game.
Oh, man. The energy in that stadium would be off the charts.
I know, right? It would be so much fun to watch.
Speaking of things that are fun to watch,
What do you have in mind?
Zamalek's logo.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And it's changed over time.
Oh, yeah, it has. It's a great visual representation of their journey.
Okay, tell me more.
So way back in the beginning, when they were the Cairo International Sports Club, they had a really simple logo, just CISC often stamped on their white jerseys.
Simple and straightforward.
Exactly. It was all about functionality back then.
And then they became Farouk Club,
Right.
under King Farouk's patronage.
Right, and their logo changed to reflect that.
How so?
They incorporated the royal emblem of the Kingdom of Egypt and Sudan.
Wow, so the players were literally wearing the symbol of the monarchy.
Yeah, is a powerful statement.
It really shows how intertwined sports can be with politics.
Absolutely. You can't separate them sometimes.
And then the 1952 revolution happened, and everything changed again.
Right. The monarchy was gone, and Zamalek needed a new symbol.
One that represented the new Egypt.
Exactly. And that's where the archer comes in.
The archer.
Yep, the logo they've had since 1952.
The one we all know.
Yep. It's a really cool design-blending athletic symbolism with ancient Egypt.
I love that it's like a bridge between the past and the present.
That's a great way to put it.
What do the different elements symbolize?
Okay, so the white background represents peace,
Okay.
and the red lines that border it represent the struggle for victory.
That's cool. I never knew that.
Yeah. And then the archer, dressed in pharaonic attire, symbolizes the club's aim to reach the top.
Makes sense. Aiming for victory.
Exactly. It's a simple design, but it's so powerful.
It really is. And speaking simple yet powerful, we got to talk about their jerseys.
The white with the red stripes.
Iconic.
Seriously, it's a classic look, and it's been their signature since the very beginning.
White for peace, red for the struggle.
Exactly. Those colors are so deeply ingrained in the club's identity.
It's amazing how consistent they've been with those colors.
I know, right? It's a testament to the power of visual identity.
Have they ever experimented with other colors?
They have, their secondary colors have changed over the years.
Okay.
Depending on the kit manufacturer, they've had navy blue, black, green.
That's a cool way to modernize the look while still staying true to their roots.
Yeah, it's like a balance between tradition and innovation.
Speaking of balance, the Wikipedia entry talks about their finances and sponsorships.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
It gives us a peek behind the curtain.
Right into the business side of things.
Because at the end of the day, even the most passionate clubs need money to survive.
Exactly. They got to keep the lights on.
So who have their sponsors been over the years?
It's a really diverse mix.
Interesting.
They've had big international brands like Adidas and Pepsi.
Okay, big name.
And then also local Egyptian companies.
Makes sense to support local businesses.
And it shows their influence. They appeal to both global and local brands.
It's like a sign of their standing in society.
Yeah, the bigger they get, the more attractive they become to sponsors.
And that brings in more money, which allows them to invest even more.
Exactly. It's a positive feedback loop.
A smart strategy, for sure.
It is. Now, we can't talk about Zamalek without talking about their home ground.
Their fortress.
The legendary Zamalek Stadium.
Though it's not their main stadium anymore, is it?
No, not really. It's mostly used for training these days.
But it's still full of history.
Oh, yeah. So much history. Imagine all the legendary matches played there.
I know. It's hard to even imagine the energy in that stadium.
Tens of thousands of fans cheering their hearts out.
Why did they eventually move to a different stadium?
Well, as the club grew, they needed more space.
Makes sense. More fans need more seats.
Exactly. So they moved to Cairo International Stadium.
Wow. The official stadium for the Egyptian national team.
That's right. They share the stage with the national team.
That's a big honor.
It shows how important Zamalek is to Egyptian football.
And Cairo International Stadium is huge, right?
Oh, yeah. It's got a capacity of 75,000.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
It's a fitting stage for a club like Zamalek.
It is, and it's hosted some really important matches, too.
Like the 2006 Africa Cup of Nations, which Egypt won.
Wow, what a moment that must have been.
To win on home soil in your own stadium?
It must have been incredible.
Truly unforgettable.
But they have another option, too, right? Petra Sports Stadium.
Yeah, that's right. They use it sometimes for their less high-profile matches.
Okay, so they've got options.
They do. Petra Sports Stadium is newer and more modern.
It's good to have choices.
It shows they're adapting to the times.
While still respecting their history.
Exactly. It's a balance.
Now, what about their fans? The heart and soul of the club.
The Zamalek faithful.
Oh yeah, there's something else.
They're known for their passion, their loyalty, their chants.
It's like an electric atmosphere.
It's unlike anything else in the world.
I've seen videos. It's insane.
It's like the whole stadium becomes one living, breathing entity.
I love that description.
And the Wikipedia entry dives into some of the fan groups.
Oh, cool. Like who?
One of the most famous is the Ultras White Knights.
I've heard of them. They're legendary.
They are known for their choreographed displays, their tifos.
The tifos are incredible.
They're like giant works of art.
It's amazing how they transform the stadium.
It's a testament to their dedication.
And their creativity.
It's a powerful reminder that football is more than just a game.
Right. It's about passion and community and belonging.
For sure.
But sadly, there have been some dark moments too.
You're talking about the stadium disasters.
Yeah, the tragedies that have happened.
These are dark days.
It's a reminder that fan safety is so important.
It is. We have to learn from those events and make sure they never happen again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, shifting gears a little,
Okay.
the Wikipedia entry also highlights Zamalek's rivalries.
Oh, yeah. Beyond just Al Ali.
Right, we talked about the Cairo Derby, but there's another one worth mentioning.
The Mid-Aqaba Derby.
Mid-Aqaba Derby.
Yeah, with Tersana Sporting Club.
Okay, I've heard of that one.
It's not as globally famous as the Cairo Derby.
But it's still a big deal for the fans.
Oh, yeah. Huge bragging rights are on the line.
So it's still super intense.
It is. And it adds another layer to Egyptian football.
It's cool to see how these rivalries shape the sport.
It's not just about wins and losses.
Right, it's about the stories.
And the emotions.
Exactly. And speaking of stories,
Yeah, what about them?
we haven't even talked about Zamalek's influence on popular culture.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole other world.
They've inspired documentaries, books, songs.
It's incredible how their reach extends beyond the pitch.
It shows how embedded they are in Egyptian culture.
They've become a symbol.
A symbol of what?
Of inspiration, of unity, of belonging.
Powerful stuff.
It is, and the Wikipedia entry mentions some specific documentaries.
Okay, what are they?
Ya Zamalek Ya Handasa, and the story never ends.
Those titles are amazing.
I know, right?
Ya Zamalek Ya Handasa. It's like a battle cry.
It is. It captures the spirit.
And the story never ends suggests there's still so much to come.
Yeah, the story's still unfolding.
It's fascinating how a sports club can inspire artists like that.
It shows their impact.
And for those who prefer reading,
Yeah.
there are tons of books and articles about Zamalek.
A treasure trove of information.
It's like we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, there's so much more to explore.
And did you know they have their own TV channel and magazine?
Really?
Yeah, a whole media empire.
Wow, tell me more.
So the Zamalek TV channel launched in 2020,
Okay, recent.
and it's 2047 coverage of all things Zamalek.
Wow, that's dedication.
It's a great way for fans to stay connected.
And what about the magazine?
It's a weekly magazine with in-depth articles, interviews, all that good stuff.
Sounds like a must-read for any Zamalek fan.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's amazing how they've created this whole media presence.
That's impressive.
It is. It shows how popular they are.
And how savvy they are with the media.
They're not just a club. They're a media powerhouse.
They are now. We've talked about a lot of different things.
They have their visual identity, their sponsors, their stadiums, their fans.
Their media empire.
It's a lot.
But there's one key element we haven't really touched on yet.
Oh, what's that?
The players.
Ah, yes. The heart and soul of any team.
The ones who make it all happen on the field.
The ones who wear the white and red stripes.
Exactly. Their stories are just as important as the club's story.
You're right.
So let's talk about some of Zamalek's legends.
Okay, sounds good.
The players who have become icons.
The ones whose names are synonymous with Zamalek's success.
Exactly. What can you tell us about them?
Well, there are many names that deserve to be mentioned,
Okay.
but I think it's worth starting with one of their most iconic figures.
Who's that? Hazim Imam.
Hazim Imam. I've heard that name whispered with reverence.
Oh, yeah, he's a legend.
What made him so special?
He was a true maestro on the pitch.
Okay,
A midfield general who orchestrated Zamalek's attacks.
sounds impressive.
He was known for his vision, his passing, his ability to control the tempo.
Like a conductor.
Yeah, exactly. And he was a leader, too.
Yeah.
A captain who inspired his teammates.
A true captain.
He was
Did he have a signature move or style?
known for his elegance and composure on the ball.
Okay.
Never wasted a pass. Always chose the most effective option.
Smart player.
He was, and a master of set pieces.
Scoring goals from free kicks and penalties.
Yep, he was a threat from anywhere.
It's amazing how certain players become more than just athletes.
They become icons, exactly like Hazim Imam. His name is forever linked with Zamalek's success,
For sure, his legacy lives on.
inspiring new generations of players.
And fans.
It's incredible how one player can have such a lasting impact.
It is, but Hazim Imam wasn't the only star.
Right, there are others.
Many others. Zamalek has a long history of producing top talent.
Okay, give me another name.
Okay, how about Abdel Halim Ali?
Abdel Halim Ali, what's his story?
He was a striker, a goal-scoring machine.
Okay.
They called him the Bulldozer.
The Bulldozer, that's a serious nickname.
He was known for his power, his runs, his finishing.
Sounds unstoppable.
He was a nightmare for defenders.
I bet.
He's still considered one of the greatest strikers in Egyptian football history.
Wow, that's high praise.
It is. He earned it.
It's fascinating to see how these different players with their unique skills have shaped Zamalek's identity.
They're like artists using the pitch as their canvas.
I love that analogy.
And it's important to remember that Zamalek's story isn't just about the past.
Right.
They have a bright future ahead of them.
With a new generation of players ready to take the reins.
Exactly. The story's still being written.
It is. And I'm excited to see what the next chapter holds.
Me too. But before we get there,
Yeah.
maybe we should take a step back and look at their trophy cabinet.
Oh, yeah. Good idea. Let's revisit some of those glorious moments.
Let's take a trip down memory lane.
And celebrate the victories that have made Zamalek a legend.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, let's take that victory lap through Zamalek's trophy cabinet.
It's pretty impressive.
It is. They've been so consistent at the top of Egyptian football.
A true powerhouse.
We talked about those 14 Egyptian Premier League titles, but when did that dominance really start?
Well, their first title came in the 1959-1960 season.
Okay, so that was like the beginning of their dynasty.
It set the stage for everything that came after.
It's amazing how one win can change everything.
It's like a mental shift, a belief that they could win at the highest level.
And they just kept winning.
They did the Egypt Cup. They've won that a ridiculous 28 times.
28 times!
28 times they're the undisputed kings of that competition.
It's insane. And they've got 4 Egyptian Super Cup titles, too.
They've definitely established a domestic dynasty.
A dynasty for sure, but their hunger for trophies didn't stop there, did it?
Nope. They set their sights on all of Africa.
And conquered it.
They did 5 CHAF Champions League titles.
The biggest club competition in Africa.
The biggest, and they've won it more than any other Egyptian team.
That's impressive.
Those titles mean a lot to the fans.
I bet to see your club conquer the continent.
It's a special feeling.
And they've got a CAF Cup Winners' Cup, too, and 5 CAF Super Cup titles.
They've pretty much won every major African club competition.
They have. They've definitely left their mark on African football.
And they've helped to raise the profile of Egyptian football globally.
It's amazing how one club can do that.
It is. They've shown the world what Egyptian football is all about.
But they didn't stop there, did they? They went even further.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about the Afro-Asian Club Championship.
Exactly. They won that twice.
They did once in 1987 and again in 1997.
Beating teams from Japan both times.
That's right. They proved they could compete with the best from other continents.
They're a global force.
They are so clearly. Zamalek is a club that knows how to win.
Their trophy cabinet is proof of that.
It is. But are there any records or achievements that stand out to you?
Oh, yeah, there are a few.
Like what?
Well, remember how they were named the best club in the world by IFFHS in February 2003?
Oh, yeah, that was huge.
Which is the first time an Egyptian club had ever received that honor.
It put them on the map.
And they deserved it. They were playing some incredible football back then.
They were winning everything.
It was a golden era.
And even though the FIFA Club World Cup they qualified for in 2001 was canceled.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
It was. But their qualification alone was a big deal.
It showed they belonged among the elite.
Exactly. They were ready to take on the world.
And then there's their winning streak in the Egypt Cup.
22 matches unbeaten.
A national record.
They broke Al Ali's record.
That's saying something.
It shows how dominant they were.
And how about those 6-0 wins in the Cairo Derby?
Oh, yeah. Legendary.
A record that will probably never be broken.
I doubt it. It's a testament to their ability to rise to the occasion.
To perform when it matters most.
And to crush their rivals.
Exactly. Those wins must be etched in the memories of every Zamalek fan.
They are moments of pure joy.
Moments that will be passed down through generations.
So we've seen Zamalek's incredible trophy haul.
And we've explored their impact on Egyptian culture.
And we've learned about their legendary players and their passionate fans.
It's been quite a journey.
It has.
Zamalek is more than just a football club.
They're an institution, a symbol of national pride.
And their story continues to inspire.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we hope you've gained a new appreciation for Zamalek Sporting Club.
Their club with a rich history and a bright future.
And we encourage you to keep exploring their story.
There's always more to learn.
Thanks for joining us.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive